Hi, I'm Bob. Welcome to Les Quis. I've been fishing this complex since I was 7 years old. Worked here for the last 12 years. So over that period, I've seen all mannerisms of angling and tactics. So here's 5 of my top do's and do nots. Number 1, take local knowledge at your own cost. Obviously, I've been here many years. My bailiffs are on site week in, week out, and we see everything. We see what's going on throughout the complex from week to week, and we know what's working at the time of your trip. So don't be afraid to ask any questions for myself or the staff members. So number 2, regarding equipment, we do advise people to bring the appropriate fishing rods and reels. Over the last few years, we've noticed people falling into this trend of using 9 and 10 foot rods. All of a sudden, your casting distance is hindered and you won't get the most out of some of your swims. Some of the casting ranges here will be about 100, 110 yards. Them shorter rods won't put you in the areas where the fish like holding out, and all of a sudden you hinder your own fishing for the week. However, it's worth putting one in the bag because a little bit of stalking with a shorter rod is always a great tactic on this complex. There's plenty of little nooks and crannies where 12-foot rods aren't quite the right rod to be using, in small, tight little nooks and crannies where the 9-foot rods are perfect for. So it's always worth having one, but I would highly recommend to have 3 12-foot rods as your main rods. So number 3, do not just rely on a pod. As far as I'm concerned, it does restrict you to only putting your rods in one area. Many of the swims here offer many different options to be able to cast your rods into a multitude of different areas of the lake. And there's always a little option where you can put your rod in the swim next door to you. However, if you've just got a pod, you're unable to do so. If you like using the pod, it's always worth just putting 1 or 2 bank sticks in to give you that extra option to cover more water. So number 4, guys, do keep active. Don't be afraid to recast and rebait really often. For me, especially here on the Bay Lake like I am this week, I'm trying to keep bait going in and recasting perhaps every 45 minutes to an hour. The fish here aren't afraid of being cast at. If I see a bit of bubbling or see a fish show, I'm putting bait straight on top of them and often nicking very quick bites doing so. And lastly, number 5, please guys, do enjoy yourself here at this complex. So that brings me on to my 5 don'ts. Number 1, don't be worried about the draw. Honestly, guys, there's not a bad swim on the complex, so the ball out the hat is nothing to worry about. Number 2, and perhaps for me, one of the most important ones, don't be afraid to ask for help from either me or any of my on-site staff. We see what goes on week in, week out, and we're also here to help with any advice regarding fishing rigs, bait tactics, baiting tactics, even if it's the little bits in life, a bit more casting tuition or anything like that, we're here to help and ensure you get the best from your holiday. So number 3, guys, don't scrimp on your bait. It's so important here at Les Quis to keep your feed going in, lit and often, to keep the fish interested in your bait and interested in your swim. I advise to have at least 25 kilos of bait for the week's fishing. Number 4, guys, don't stay static. The amount of times here that I've been on the mooch, having a look early morning, late evening, seeing a few fish roll or bubble in an empty swim, move on to them and catch fish really quickly. Here on the complex, we always make sure there's empty swims, so if you want to move, it is possible. And last, guys, number 5, don't overcomplicate things. Keep things simple. Sometimes simple is best.